I worked in an Amazon warehouse for 3 days after selling my e-commerce company. Guess how much money I made and how many miles I walked per day? Keep watching to find out. So first things first, Amazon will basically hire you on the spot. There is no extensive reference check. They're not going to go through your resume in any great detail. Basically, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs, you will be hired on the spot. Now in terms of actually getting to your job location, the warehouse that you'll be working at, for me, it was quite easy. At the warehouse I worked at in New Westminster, BC, it was right beside a transit location, and so SkyTraining in or parking was relatively easy. However, for most Amazon warehouses, they are far away in the boonies. Thankfully, Amazon a lot of the times will actually provide you free shuttles to their warehouses. So look into this before you take a job at one of these warehouses and see what the transportation logistics are for that particular warehouse. Next, at the warehouse that I worked at, it was called an oversized warehouse. Amazon separates their warehouses into 2 types of warehouses. One are for small items and one are for larger oversized items. The oversized warehouses are warehouses where you'll be picking up a lot of large items. Now these can be yoga balls or even full-size kayaks. The standard size items, the small items warehouses, you'll be picking lots and lots and lots of smaller items. There's pros and cons to each. At the oversized warehouse, you're picking up lots of heavy things, which can be physically grueling. However, you won't be required to pick a lot of these items per hour. Standard size item warehouse, you're picking lots of small items, really easy to pick. However, you'll have a big threshold that you need to meet every hour in terms of the number of items that you're picking each and every hour. Now, what exactly do I mean by picking? Well, when you first get hired by Amazon, you're almost certainly going to be assigned the job of a picker. That means that you're going to walk around the warehouse and find the items that individual customers are ordering. Yes, you may have heard about Amazon's drones and other machinery and robots that they have working in their warehouses. The truth of it is, most of the work of finding packages in these giant warehouses is done by humans. Now, if you advance in your career, you might be assigned another job at that warehouse. And a good example of one of the other positions would be a packer. A packer is simply the person who takes those items that the picker finds and then packages them into boxes. This is a much less physically grueling job than being a picker, and if you advance in your career, that could be where you end up. Oh, and maybe you think that if you go get a job at an Amazon warehouse, that this will be the job opening that you get to working in one of their shiny offices that they operate in downtown locations around the world. Well, good luck. For the most part, Amazon warehouses and Amazon office jobs are 2 different worlds, and working in a warehouse isn't really an entry point into working a nice office job with Amazon. So if that's your thought, probably not going to work out that way for you. Next, be prepared to do a lot of walking. The entire day you will be walking. It will never stop. It's not uncommon to walk 10 plus miles per day. So if you like walking, great, this is a job for you. If you do not like walking, forget it. This is not the job for you. Oh, and maybe you think though that you'll walk around and you'll put a pair of headphones on and you'll listen to your favorite podcast or some music while you do your job. As soon as you walk into the warehouse, you have to take all electronics out of your pockets and stick them into a locker. There is no music listening or podcast listening while you work. Now, for your job, nobody will care anything about you except how many packages you pick per hour. Every Amazon FBA warehouse worker lives and dies by this metric. If you pick more than your quota per hour, great.
Yay!
If you pick less than the number of packages that you're required to pick per hour, you're going to get a tap on the shoulder and be told to speed it up. If you continuously underperform, you will eventually get the can and you'll be asked to leave and go find another job.
All right, Gene, but I think you're fired.
Now, with that being said, some people actually take advantage of this. So when I was working at the warehouse, I knew a guy who every day he would go to a back corner of the warehouse, a dark corner, and he'd find an old dog bed that somebody was selling, and he would go and take a nap on this dog bed for basically his entire shift. And he did this up until the day that I actually left, until he got fired. So yes, it's possible to take advantage of this because nobody will really see what you're doing at your job. They'll just look at this metric at the end of the day to see how many packages you picked. Okay, now let's talk about the money. In terms of pay, when I worked at this Amazon warehouse, it was just a little bit above minimum wage where I was working at, which is in British Columbia, Canada. That's kind of standard for most of these warehouses, especially after COVID when Amazon's not quite as desperate to get employees and FBA warehouse workers like they were during COVID. Now the good news is though, there is a lot of opportunity for overtime and more shifts, especially during peak seasons. And these two peak seasons are generally number one, Christmas, and number two, the days leading up to Prime Day. If you like overtime, then Amazon can be the job for you. So overall, would I recommend somebody to go get a job at an Amazon warehouse? Well, if you like walking and you want lots of overtime, it could be a great job for you. If you're looking for some amazing career advancement and going to get a nice office job at Amazon and this is just simply your way of getting in, probably not the job for you.